pay attention to, especially as a singer, even more so if you're looking to pursue this professionally, you got to pay attention to what foods cause extra mucus, what foods cause post-nasal drip, what foods definitely meant you can't sing for the next few hours. You've got to start really paying attention to those things. And if not a mental note, actually write it down so you can have a checklist you preparing for a show the next day.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's talk about vocal health. Like, I would say it's probably easiest for us to take it from beginning to end, from what everybody deals with to what is more obscure things, but there's still a large number of people that deal with them. So like different type of illnesses and stuff. But vocal health in general, though, how do we keep our voice in shape in general? Before we even dive into a warm up or stuff like that, what is overall general vocal health for you guys? Think day to day.
Water is a huge one. Staying hydrated. Whenever any student's starting to have vocal problems or like they start noticing like strain, and if I know like, oh, they're doing all the techniques right, I'll always ask like, well, have you been drinking water? And like 9 times out of 10, they'll be, oh no, I haven't been. It's gonna do it. Like your voice isn't gonna feel great. So
I'm thinking massive amounts of caffeine, breathing in right in front of the heater or in front of the AC.
Yeah.
Anything that'll dry you out will give you a good raspy voice. No, not at all. Don't do that. That's terrible.
It's just gonna feel awful. Not gonna be happy with yourself. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think water for me is like the first thing that popped in my head.
So yeah, hydration. Oh man, on stage, I have like a big water bottle. That, or I have a thermos that keeps it a specific temperature. I call the silver bullet. It's a liter. It's easily a liter.
Yeah.
And I'll put like a little bit of honey in it, sometimes some ginger. Anything that just keeps me hydrated and keeps my voice warm at the same time.
When I was at Rockville, I saw Architects, and oh my God, what's the name of the lead singer? I feel bad.
Sam,
yeah.
Carter, yeah.
You're talking this dude who is just bringing the most intense energy, and he's like, got the awesome screams, awesome voice. And then he goes to the front of the stage and he has water and a little mug of tea. And it's so funny because he's just, and I'm like, oh my God. And I love it. Love it.
Dude, water's huge.
Water.
And used in more than one way. Like, I usually have something about this size full of water on stage.
Yeah.
So I just breathe in mist.
Yeah.
The first time you do that, you feel like you're going to drown, or at least that's the way your body reacts. And then it's like, oh, wait, you didn't drown. You're okay. Yeah, we could do that again.
Yep.
This is singer's saving grace. I'm like throat sprays. I'm usually very, what do you call that? Prudent with.
Yeah.
I try not to use it a lot because it's easy to overuse. But water, man, and steam.
I have hit or miss with steam.
Are very good.
Yeah, I like steam.
Steam or nebulizer?
I probably with a nebulizer, because I think because a nebulizer, is that the thing that you like hold to your face specifically, or?
Well, steam would be warm. Nebulizer is just it creates a mist and it always dries me out. Always dries me out.
Same. Okay, because I use I think I use the Vicks one that you just put right in front of your.
Yep,
yeah.
We both do.
Yeah, I like that. That one's helped me the most. But then I had one of those. I don't want to say a brand because I don't want them to get mad at us. But
it's like a handheld.
Yeah, like one of a handheld thing, and I just held it up to my face. And like for health reasons, I'm sure it's perfect. But for singing, it was like, ugh, and it just felt awful. So I didn't realize, that disconnection or the difference between warm steam and just mist.
I don't know what it is, but it feels like the demineralization process using a nebulizer. Like everything just gets extracted from your throat. Right? So yeah, and I have asthma as well. So that I've used nebulizers for other purposes too, but man, the steam always feels good.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe an hour and a half after I use a steam inhaler, I feel super hydrated.
Yeah.
At least in the throat.
I love that. Yeah, man.
Yeah, the
Freaking-
nebulizer was a huge thing I used on tour. Was just like we'd be driving, I'd be talking. Like me, notoriously, I talk a lot, and being able to like step away is huge. Like just being like when you know that, and then using like a nebulizer in the car, like something that's portable like that, with it just being a handheld, is really nice to like shove in your gig bag and then be able to just have it there ready to go, and being like, I'm just gonna step away and warm up in the car. Like that's what I did all the time, and just do like your own space.
Was it
Mentally,
warm steam or just a mist?
just a mist.
And I think that's something we've got to say here too, is that everybody's different. I'm sure you could condition to a nebulizer as well, but I have other students that use a nebulizer and don't get tried out. So it's worth trying out different things for sure.
Yeah. Take what works, leave what doesn't, man. I get it.
Yeah.
Yep. That's cool though. But yeah, definitely hydration, however you can get it, is just a huge help for keeping your voice in tip top shape.
And knowing that when you're drinking water for hydration, it takes 30 minutes to 2 hours to spread throughout your body. So a portion of that gets to your throat. So that's like way ahead of time thinking about hydration. And then if you're sweating on stage, even more important.
Yeah. Well, I always tell my students, because they'll do that. They'll bring like all sorts of water and stuff. And I tell them like, yes, have your water in lesson, because, you know, if something gets caught in your throat, it's better for you to drink water than to try and clear, like, do stuff like that. But, whenever they're talking about getting ready for shows, I'm like, it's more important that you pay attention to what you're doing the day before than the morning of. Like, morning of is important, but like, take care of yourself the day before, because that's what your body is building off of for the next day. Drink a lot of water, get enough sleep. I think I didn't know how to segue into sleep, but I think that's an even more important one in some cases, is like, get sleep. You see these I think if you could compare like at the beginning of a tour to like nearing the end of the tour, you can definitely see what poor sleep quality does to a performer, to a singer in general. Because keys are getting dropped, and parts that normally are easy are like, oh, okay, we're gonna take this down. We're gonna let the crowd take care of this part for me today. Like that,
Well, you said something that I want to address as well with the hydration thing, because it is number one, man. It is so important. But mention preparing the day before. One thing, I drink coffee all the time, and different foods, different things, like has dairy in it, does not affect me.
Right.
I eat an apple. I mentioned this in another episode. I eat an apple. I'm coughing for an hour. That. So different things are going to affect you.
Yeah.
Coffee does not affect my singing unless I have a ton of it, and I take 5 hours to drink this.
Right.
So it's not really affecting me. But getting blood drawn, so that this is just speaking to hydration and about coffee especially. Getting blood drawn has always been a major issue for me. Like, besides the trauma I've had over misuse of needles in the hospital, I won't go into that. Man, very nightmare material.
Oof.
Besides that, my veins don't want you to draw blood. They just move out of the way, or they call them rubbery veins, whatever.
Interesting.
I had a really good friend that was like, you know what? I was told by I forget who told him, but he's like, I was told to only drink water the day before. Don't have caffeine, just water. Yes, you can eat and stuff too. I'm not talking about that. Just as far as hydration is concerned, it's only water. And the last 2 times I've done that, no issues. Immediate blood draw, no problems whatsoever. So coffee does affect your system. Just having straight up water does affect your system, but I had to do it for an entire day before.
Yep.
Just so there's a story attached to that about how important it is to drink water and prep early, and not early the same day.
Yeah.
Prep beforehand, prep a day before, prep days before, if you're having to change your diet to prepare for a performance.
And you brought up, that's a really good point too, in that a lot of I remember when I was just getting used to having a routine as a singer and learning all about the foods that are, bad for the voice. Dairy, you're not supposed to drink dairy, or you're not supposed to have spicy foods, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what? So I can only have what, bread and water? That's what it feels like. Don't limit yourself. Like if you like spicy food and you're still a singer, like doesn't mean that you're going to like not be able to sing. Like just maybe don't like chomp on a ghost pepper right before you go on stage or something, like moderation, y'all. Like, like you were saying, like prep the day before. So yeah, maybe the day before, don't be eating copious amounts of spicy food because that's going to cause indigestion. That's going to cause acid reflux, things like that. It's going to harm the voice.
And just to be clear, with acid reflux, it doesn't mean that you have heartburn. It doesn't mean that you're burning everything in this sensation the whole time. It can be very quiet, very silent, very subtle, and it just irritates your vocal cords.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Texas, man. So spicy food that's such a relative term to me. But
some people are thinking just a little extra salt. They're like, stop. Some people are like, if it doesn't burn, I don't taste it.
Yeah, totally. So like my brother says, who's like, I've seen him eat stuff I would even touch as far as spiciness. He's like, you don't understand. Tears are part of the experience.
Like they're actually like just weeping, red face, and they're like, "This is the best, I'm happiest I've ever been." Oh my gosh, it's like,
So pay attention to, and especially as a singer, it's even more so if you're looking to pursue this professionally. You got to pay attention to what foods cause extra mucus, what foods cause post-nasal drip, what foods definitely meant you can't sing for the next few hours. Yeah. Like, you got to start really paying attention to those things. And if not a mental note, actually write it down so you can like have a checklist you preparing for a show the next day.
Yeah. I'll forget the next second. Like I'll think like, oh yeah, that's something that's not good for me. And then, 2 days later, I'm like, oh, that's right. I wasn't supposed to eat this. Darn.
I'm sure I mentioned this in another episode, man. Billy Joel, his masterclass. I know I've told you all about it before. Talking about how they wouldn't eat for 5 hours before the gig, so they were really hungry during the gig. He's like sitting at the piano thinking, "Hey, it's a song on the piano, man. Man, I could really use a hamburger right now." It's a song tonight. Look over at the drummer. It's like, I bet he's hungry too.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, and some French fries. Like the whole time he's singing, that's what he's thinking about.
Oh man! But those dinners after show were fantastic. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, like no matter what you eat.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god.
The rice, yes.
Right. I was the same way, and I did part of like health, unhealthy eating back in San Diego. I had a whole stint of it, but I was doing shows, and I also didn't like to eat. A couple hours before, especially if I had a lesson, if I had a show, anything. I just did not like having food. So I would, after shows, I'd go through a 24-hour like a Mexican drive-through restaurant, and I'd get a freaking huge California burrito, a cheese quesadilla, a giant Pepsi, because I'm like, I haven't eaten in like 12 hours. I'm ready. I need to just eat everything.
I have to say, man, the South in the U.S., the South has the most awesome Mexican food restaurants that are open late.
Dude, yeah. Well, same with San Diego. Dude, it's because like we're not cousins. We're neighbors.
South California, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. We'll count it. Yeah.
The closer to the border, man.
So good. So good.
It's not necessarily good for you, but dang, it tastes
delicious.
Delicious.
I had a show in Tucson, and we drove straight there. I don't recommend that. So with a trailer. So it was like 18 to 20 something hours. I can't remember exactly. I played this big convention and like a steampunk convention. We got to play the main stage in the big ballroom. It was at old Tucson Studios. I don't know if they're still open, but they filmed a lot of Westerns there.
That's cool.
So the big ballroom, and that was really cool. And then we like, okay, let's go eat. Dude, 24-hour everything deep fried Mexican food.
So good.
Yeah, it's so good, but not what you want to eat on tour.
I get it. Yep. Oh yeah, you wake up the next morning, you're like, why?
Yep. Yeah, big role there. Like they paid for a hotel and stuff too. So yeah, we refused to use our own restrooms, so we went to the office restroom.
I get it, man.
I don't need to give more detail than that.
I get it. Yep, I know where you're coming from.
So that's a vocal health thing too. If you're on tour, if you're just on the road, or having to travel before any show.
Yeah.
That you've got to take extra care of what you're eating so that you still feel good.
Yeah. I think like just general health things are always just I don't think there's any one like health thing that you can do for just your overall well-being that is again bad for singing. So if you ask yourself like, am I going to feel good doing this? Like, is it going to help me? Is it going to help me feel good? Then do it. Like it's probably going to be good for your voice. It's if anything, if for anything, it's going to get you in a good mindset.
Yep.
You know, regular
That's
exercise.
huge.
Yep. The band Rhapsody of Fire, I used to be teamed up with Alex Stropoli, who heads up that band. We used to coach bands online. When they come to town, any town on tour, the first thing he does is go for a run. He runs through the town, just get a feel for the town and to stay on top of his health.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I actually coached quite a few bands to carry kettlebells if they're touring.
Mm-hmm.
Like have a couple of kettlebells with you. So you have a way to maintain fitness, even if it's only a few minutes, you did something, you know?
You can get, yeah. I mean, shoot, if you can get like a Planet Fitness membership, $25 a month, but you can go to any Planet Fitness, and they're all over the country, you know? So,
Or go for a really long walk.
Yeah.
A couple hours, a few hours of a
anything.
walk.
yeah.
It's easy.
Push-ups.
It's easy, but it's really
Squats,
good for you.
Mm-hmm.
The only caveat I have to that is if you deal with asthma, like I do, if it's cold, don't go on a walk.
Fair.
Not before a
Yeah,
performance.
that's fair. Okay, so then actually that segues, I'm curious, have you guys had the same experience where you'll work out or like, you know, whether it's cardio, whether it's weights, it doesn't matter. And then for like 25, 30 minutes later, like everything, while exhausting because you're out of breath, but like everything is a lot easier to sing. Does anyone feel that? Does that ever happen to Yeah.
I would do like a little ab workout before as I was warming up back in Colorado for a while. I would do like push-ups, a little ab workout, and then start doing like my warm-ups. And then as I'm doing it, walking around, maybe like getting into it more like I'm on stage and starting to sweat. And then like you start to fall onto the habits of your singing. And if those are solid, then because you're conditioned, things are moving, your brain will start firing better because of the blood flow. You'll just kind of find yourself in like that zone a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
And like, the adrenaline helps just perpetuate that. And so getting yourself in that zone, you know, especially with like the health sides that we've talked about, like eating right, sleeping right helps with your mental health and thus like your vision and your how you see yourself on that stage, how you see yourself in the booth and getting better performances.
Yeah.
So I find that combining that together has been helpful. Just like going for a run and then coming back, listening to your favorite song and being like, I'm ready. Like, let's sing.
Heck yeah, man. I love that.
Little rituals.
Yeah.
And as long as you know your own body.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm one of those that tends to overdo things. So then I'm done. Like, so I had to purposely slow down. And yes, the warm up, the extra blood flow is amazing. And the idea of rehearsing for what you're actually going to be doing, a studio time, or that's coming up next, I guess, or it's a live show, then you want to get your body conditioned for that.
Yes.
Right.
And even if all you're doing is practicing that day, well, what's the next public thing coming up? Is that going to be in the studio or on stage?
Right.
So that definitely really helps too.
Yeah. Kind of on that note of like the studio and everything, I think like going in like the rituals a little bit help, like, because it's combined with mental health and then physical health of like, oh, like I was in the studio for a while. My guitar player who did a lot of backup vocals and some like shared some leads. He was a fan of Dave Mustaine's like eating potato chips to get like oil and grease down his throat. And so like it helped him. It was interesting. I mean, it worked for him again. Like everything is kind of take what works for you, leave what doesn't. And he would always have potato chips. He'd have his giant thermos of water. All these things that are like, you know, we mentioned before, like a checklist and having those things with you based on what you're doing. Like if you're on stage, right, and you have a bag of like Lay's in front of you, you know, that could be your look.
That's
I guess.
true. Yeah. Well, again, we were just talking about architects and the tea, man. I get it. Like
Exactly.
it's a
Whatever
look.
works.
And it's a vibe.
Yeah, it might be different for studio, might be different for practice, might be different for shows.
Yeah.
But just kind of
Yeah.
being aware of those things and consistent with it.
Yeah.
Well, when I did voiceovers, so say like I would do like a 5-hour run or do or read a book. You and I'm having to voice this entire book. I had cranberry juice and potato chips. That was at my disposal that whole time. It doesn't make you feel the best, but your throat is good. The salt and oil is amazing for your throat.
That is so interesting.
It's not necessarily good for your digestion, but
No.
Guys, I've been trying to eat healthier. Stop trying to get me on potato chips. I'm just kidding.
Potato chips are the solution to everything.
Apparently, I'm just, oh man,
Jim Mustaine said it. It's fact.
There we go. Good to know. I mean, I had a vocal teacher back in, how old was I? Like 18, 19 years old. And she said that when she first got started, one of her mentors or coaches or something told her that her voice was way too clean. And so they would have her eat saltines before recording and just to muddy her voice up. Yeah.
see, I don't like that. I've heard crazy stuff.
Yeah,
man.
but that's the thing is I brought that up because I was like, if you're doing extra things like that, like I know some people will like smoke cigarettes in an attempt to get rasp. Some people will. Those are the only ones I can really think of at the moment. But you know what I'm trying to say, like
Randy Blythe, who was told to run around the studio 5 times, then come in and scream till his throat bled, and then they would take the take.
right. No, like that. So like that's the other and so like I mean, the potato chip thing. Who doesn't like potato chips, man? And like I love saltines. Like if it worked, shoot. But like don't do some of these things as a replacement for good technique and for warming up and for getting your voice ready, like and even the good things like man, like drinking tea and honey like isn't automatically going to make you a great singer. It's going to help.
Hey, some tea is astringent. So.
Right. Yeah. So like don't do those things as a supplement to warming up, training, and just getting your voice ready. But they are good like accessories. It doesn't matter. Accessories to training. And if it makes you feel good, the philosophy here is take what works, leave what doesn't. If it makes you feel good and it helps you, great. So
if it helps you stay healthy and it helps you with good technique,
yeah,
it helps you,
absolutely.
If it helps you just get the sounds you want, it doesn't mean it's healthy.
Yeah, and again, that's what you're saying, like running around or like eating saltines just to muddy a sound up. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just
smoking cigarettes, eating nuts to get gravel. Getting.
The crazy and like she had a fantastic voice, so I was like, I don't know what this guy was talking about. Like your voice is fantastic, but sometimes some people have different rituals. So I don't know.
Real quick, I want to let you know about our Rock Singing Success community. If you want a place to discuss this topic further or other topics, a place where you can improve your voice and your music career with courses and other resources, and even have a community of like-minded singers in rock and metal that are on the same path, those that support each other, encourage each other along the way, then join us at school.com/rocksingingsuccess. And that's skool.com/rocksingingsuccess. It's actually good to go into a little bit here about the ritual because we're essentially putting on a character, bringing forth a part of ourselves to the forefront, bringing part of ourselves to the forefront for presenting to other people.
Yep.
And rituals help. Rituals help so much with that. And it's not like I'm talking about, do your little pentagram and candles. That's not the type of ritual I'm talking about. Todd Herman called it the alter ego. He had a whole book on it where talking about Superman putting on glasses, and he's a different person. I think I've said that in another podcast as well, where he was telling that story to a group of people, and this old black lady came up to him after and said, "Oh, my Martin used to do that." And he talked with her for a while, and when she went away, his assistant came up to him and said, "Do you know who that was?" Like, "Oh, that's Martin Luther King Jr.'s widow." Oh, so even Martin Luther King Jr., who wasn't very confident, if he put on glasses, he felt smart. So he wore glasses during a lot of his speeches.
Yeah.
And so things like that. I have a German student who puts on, he does musical theater and like a Genesis cover band.
That's cool.
And it's such a different way of singing.
Yeah.
It's some of the placement's the same, but the way you pronounce words is totally different.
Yep.
And we got into that mode of, musical theater is definitely more about the words than rock singing, which is more about the groove and the music.
Yeah.
And the vibe. So he decided he never wears jewelry. So when he goes on stage to sing rock, he puts on a stone ring. That's all he needs. Like he feels it because he never wears one.
Right.
And it's rock. It's made out of rock.
There we go. I like that.
So it helps him get in that different mode, which I think is what even Drew, what you were saying about warming up your body and, getting that physical exercise is placing you in a totally different mindset and mode. Your whole body's in a different mode now.
Yep.
That's
you
really cool.
Really channeling, like that character of what you're representing in like the performance and the recording in your writing sessions, being able just to like imagine and embody, like, which is why it's so personal, right? Like performance to studio to songwriting, depending on it, like you're kind of a different artist, you're a different person in it. Like you're either like performing as a professional, you could be this chaotic person when you're writing on stage, you're kind of both. And so having like, even if those are separate for you, that's cool. But being able to at least lock into something that feels like, okay, I'm in this moment. It's giving me the inspiration to say for writing, to write, but also do well. Like for me, like when I'm writing, I do the lights, I do everything like this, get it low and dark and kind of warm up. And I'll do like karaoke. Like I have a microphone and I'll warm up into it and just, sometimes I'll wear earring protection, but like just get to that point where I start feeling like a badass, like getting to the point of like, okay, I'm in the zone of warmed up, feeling it, and then getting everything that you can out in front of you, laid down for the writing, and then you lay it down, but not worry about perfection. And that's something you can also apply to the performance where you use technique as your foundation of all of it, but you might perform 85 to 90% of like your true capacity of like, that is 90% perfect. But then being in that zone of like, I'm a badass, or like, I'm here to represent a movement, depending on your music, whatever it is, embracing a lot of that will give you a better performance because you're channeling the words, the energy that you feel, the emotion you feel behind what you know and what you stand for in that position will ultimately help you get to a better spot. And what's cool about that is when you live that like alter ego, it also puts more importance on your day-to-day life of, I need to sleep, I need to eat right. Because holy crap, when I'm on stage, it makes it all worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And I think there's something to be said for the whole preparation too. And I don't know how to word this exactly, but you're talking about putting yourself in that mode. Like we're all talking about that, putting yourself in that mode, getting into the performing self, and then going for it. Well, you don't have to wait. You can do that early on. Not that everybody needs to do this either, but just building up that warm up from your body to what's happening in your throat. We'll get to that in a second too, but you can do that first thing in the morning, and then you're ready all day. And then you only have to do maybe some little ritual right before you get into actually performing something or going through your routines and stuff. But I had to do that up in Seattle. We were doing a 5-day vocal intensive, and I was teaching all day, but I wasn't necessarily singing all day. I was helping other people do that. And sometimes I do sing a lot, but it was kind of a crapshoot. So what I would do is there's a 10-minute walk to the studio to where we're doing the event. And so first thing in the morning, I get ready, throw the straw in my mouth, walk 10 minutes while doing my warm up with the straw in my mouth. And by the time I got there, I was completely warmed up. So I would do another thing. Like I would sing a couple of songs when I got there. There was a whole sound system and stuff, so it was kind of cool. Open the windows, sing a couple of songs. You can hear it for like 10 blocks away. But anyway, it was just fun. There's that consideration too of being prepared, being ready to go straight for it, being like at any moment. And I guess what I was getting at with that was I've had people, like, oh, so you're a rock singer, can you sing me something? Like, no, I can't. I'm not warmed up. I'm not mentally prepared for that because I am not in that mode at all.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can just dive in and everything just works unless you already prepared to be able to do that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what is a good warm up for you guys? What else? See the vocal warm up side of it. We've talked about the health leading up to it and getting kind of physical as well to warm up your body. But what about singing? Everybody's different. I have noticed that. 20 people in a room, they all do something different.
It's very true. I try to embrace partly the things I know that if I walk through consistently will get me the best results, like sirens, going through Messa de Voce, where I kind of do like a combination of adding compression as I go through like sirens as I warm up. Like I start getting through my range, and then I'll add more compression and more mass as I come down, as I get more into it. And then bring that transition of adding more chest voice up higher. As I go gradually through it. And then ultimately move into adding distortion from the top because that's easiest for me. Can't be super loud and obviously I haven't warmed up, so I'm not going to do it too much. But going through just high notes and then adding a little bit of that, distortion that I normally use, and then it helps me translate that into my normal singing voice as I come down. And then I just kind of do revs with distortion as I go up. As I go through the revving, that's when I start to add the distortion and make sure everything is connected with cry vocal mode and everything is effortless as possible. So I really go through making sure all the sounds are easy to make and then starting to like, okay, here's clean singing, here's distortion, let's merge them. And then I start getting into, once distortion feels merged, adding the screaming, and then I make sure those are all merged. And then next thing I know, when I have all those pieces together, I have to have my the cry on point for me to make all those sounds, jump between them, and do it in a way that I can reach my top and low range and do it with ease. And then it ultimately helps just my clean singing when I go just clean, when I do screams, when I do distorted stuff. They all kind of create this little trifecta of everything that creates my voice. So there's always a little bit of edge.
One thing to note, because you were talking about getting into the mindset, you'll turn on songs and do karaoke but you're actually doing a whole warm up before that. And I just want to point that out because a lot of people listening, let's just say a lot of the students that come to us are like, what'd you do for a warm up? Oh, I sang this song and this song. It's like, that's not a warm up. That's just abusing your voice.
Yeah.
That's like, okay, let's sprint a marathon without stretching first. It's not going to go well after a certain point.
Right.
Because you're just going to wear yourself out.
Yeah.
So that's cool. You're doing both the physical, getting into this light to stronger, light to more intense stuff, and then maybe singing some songs. So too,
exactly.
I love that mindset.
Just getting completely engrossed in okay, I can do these things. Doing something that you're familiar with. And one thing I teach my students a lot is for practice and for warming up, I'll take a song, I don't know, making up something. I know she won't love you. And then you go I know that she won't love you. I know that she won't love you. And you start taking the lines and of just making them your own, adding distortion on some of it, maybe screaming some of it, but just gradually expanding upon what you do with one line or a song or parts of a song. To be I know this the back of my hand for lyrics because that's useful. Melody, then you're just adjusting the melody, not just being I think the melody goes like this, but then you can completely introduce freedom in your voice by just taking liberties with something you already know.
Yeah.
So Matt, do you have a particular warm up you go through?
I mean, it depends on the day, mostly because I'm
there with you.
Right. Well, and I say that because I'm singing, 3 different genres, depending on the day. I'm either in the classical mindset, musical theater mindset, rock mindset. But with rock in particular, with all 3 of them in particular, I'm focusing first on feeling the flexibility in the voice. And so for me, and I start all my lessons this way too, is I like to first just kind of take a deep breath, just taking a few very intentional deep breathing exercises. If not just for the voice, also just for the head, get yourself into the mindset of we're about to sing. It might not go the way you want it to. It might. It doesn't matter what happens right now. Just work it through it. You can do it, you know? But then from there, I love lip trills. I will always do lip trills. I know I am basic, and I respect that about myself because
There's nothing wrong with lip trills as long as you know that's not the end of it.
No,
and
yeah.
that's where I run into an issue with some people. Is like,
yeah,
I did lip trills. Like, okay, what else did you do? How did you build from there?
yeah. Well, because lip trills for me, I use them almost as like a reset or as a start to comfortable singing. Because something that I struggle a lot with, and I'm sure a lot of listeners, and I'm sure you guys also have like students that struggle a lot with this, is over compressing and pulling chest. So I think more of using the lip trill to just similar to how you were talking about with the sirens, Drew.
Yeah, you're bridging.
And I'm focusing on the bridging. I'm also focusing on how my breathing, how my breath and the vocal folds are working together so that I'm not overdoing one of them. If I'm over compressing with my vocal folds, the next thing you know, I'm singing like like really tight. Or if I'm putting too much breath behind it, and then I don't have anywhere to go with that. So I'll do hey, kind of get that feeling in there. So lip trills, I love to start with lip trills. From there, then I just start doing general vocalizing. I love quick moving scales. My voice just, it flutters and it feels really good when I'm actually moving through actual scales. So one I really like to do is like a hey, and I'll take that up. Generally, I don't have like a pitch specific to go off of, but let's pretend that this is a F sharp. Hey, what was that?
You're at F.
Ah, darn it. I have like the most crapshoot relative pitch. I know because like I can sing within a semitone of the note that I'm going for, based on just perspective of my voice. Anyway, but yeah, so I'll do that scale because I feel like I think of my voice, and actually I got this metaphor from you, Draven, as a rubber band. And like every time I start to warm up, I pretend that the rubber band is just cold and it's not ready. That's why it's called warming up. Hey. If you go into it and you immediately say, all right, it's time to hit the high notes, you're going to break the rubber band. We don't want that. So I think of my voice as just slowly stretching, slowly moving, and whatever that needs. For me, some people hate scales. Some people love them. I love them personally. My students know that because I take them through scales. Because in my head,
if you want vocal agility, if you especially want to do vocal runs, dude, you've got to be doing scales.
Right.
Yep.
And so in my head, I'm like, the scales for me just help to really stretch out the vocal folds and make sure that everything is loosening up. From there, then I 120% focus on cry. I have to make sure, especially when I'm singing rock, that I am crying into the passaggio, specifically the passaggio notes like F sharp, G, A flat, and A. I need to make sure all of those notes are nice and cried because if they are not, I'm pulling chest.
And just to note for people listening, that does not mean
Right.
like you hear some people explain cry. It means I don't want to go to school today. It means that, you know. So your larynx dampens. It actually relaxes. Your larynx relaxes. Your tongue relaxes. You're kind of sitting on top of the throat a little bit, just a little bit, but it's above.
Yeah.
And then it's much easier to go through your range and to get a good acoustic placement with that and stuff too.
Absolutely, and that's where I'm coming from with the cry. And also notice like focus because with cry for me, I noticed that it's very easy to close off the breath from the equation. So I'll going back to get into overcompression. I will like rather than kind of feeling.
So you're starting more on a fry?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
overcry
cool.
it specifically because I know that if I don't overcorrect, I'm not going to correct. And so, especially when I'm training and warming, I want to really lock in what that feeling feels like. And then I'll put it back into a song. So that's kind of the last thing I like to do with a warm up. Similar to how you're talking about going through karaoke to get in the mindset. I love having an easy warm up song. For years, for me, it was Knives and Pens by Black Veil Brides. And because that just right, I'm like, oh, my little emo kids phase just never ended.
Dude,
and I would
all
just,
that. Oh, dude.
oh, dude, I saw them at Rockville, and I went like 17-year-old Matt just started crying inside. He's like, oh my god. Anyway,
My hero.
yeah, like I love you guys so much. But yeah, and so I would sing through that song. And the reason I sang through that song in particular and not like something super difficult is because not throwing shade at Knives and Pens. It's a fantastic song. But it's just it's for me, it wasn't that hard range wise. It sat in a very easy range for me. Is because if you're trying to apply a warm up and warming your voice up and applying these techniques that you might still be learning or haven't just locked into the voice yet, if you try to apply that to a song that is already hard, you're just adding difficulty that you don't need to. Pick something easy, apply what you're working on to an easy range, to an easy song, so that you know what it feels like and you can not have to worry about whether or not you're going to hit the note, focusing more on how does the note feel. Versus if I were to sit there and try to sing Just Pretend by Bad Omens, which I've been trying to do, and it's hard. Excuse me. There are already other things in the way that are making that song hard for me.
Slowly expand into that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't avoid that.
So we don't have a lot of time, so I'm not meaning to cut you off here. I think you gave a really complete idea there. But for me, like, I'll grab a little like 3.5 millimeter straw that's cut in half so it's short, and instead of lip trills, because I like to quickly get my voice warmed up. Yeah, you guys have them too.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
Box
and just go through big sirens like trying to go up light and squeaky up high, not pushing it, just really light, stretching my voice out, stretching that range out, super low to super high. When I first do that in the morning, it's just air up high. Like it takes a little while to start connecting and getting a voice there. And then I'll do things like in the straw, going up light, coming down strong, which is just going, like I'll do that up near the top of what I know I can sing, not the very top end of my range, but I know I'm going to be singing those notes. I know I can normally sing those notes. So that's the range I warm up in. Then I try to go up to the super high end to stretch it out a little bit more. But I'm going, again, like we've all said, it's going from light to strong, slowly increasing in pitch. So there's still that you're expanding your range and you're expanding the intensity of your voice slowly to wake it all up, get it stretched out, get it working for you, get it agile, get it into cry, get it into a good acoustic position. It's like building your voice from the ground up to warm up. No matter how you do that, that concept applies.
Yeah.
And then you're ready. Yep. Then you can go for a couple hours if you're not abusing your voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like my grit warm up, for instance, I just, after my voice is warmed up, I'll go low. It's like revving an engine.
Yep.
And I try to pay attention to how that's pulling back and getting more into a mixed voice as I go up higher. Otherwise, it would just be too harsh.
Yep.
Like you're just too much. I can only do that for a couple minutes, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to stay relaxed. I'm trying to utilize cry, even with the grit. So that's, again, building the voice from the ground up. You're building each piece of it little by little. Some of my students I have do specific breathing exercises because they struggle with breath support. So the first thing we do is take a deep breath down and behind you or into your obliques, your lower ribs, and go and hiss out an S to try to get it into the solar plexus because they're not used to breathing from there.
Yeah.
So you're reminding your body, you're reminding your brain of what you're trying to do, the placement you're trying to get into for singing rather than speech, and it's gotta warm up.
Yeah.
That's huge for vocal health.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and I want to comment really quick on what you brought, because you brought up something really important, is that when you're doing, it's not just enough to like just do the exercise. Like, we're teaching people exercises, the exercises, what they sound like, but paying attention to what is happening and saying like, what is going on up there? Like, don't just do it thinking the exercise is going to fix everything for you. You have to also have that awareness of like, one day, like doing that down low exercise, that like kind of thing. Like, where is that going? Is it feeling like it's going to the front? Is it feeling like it's coming to the back? Is it going to a mix? Is it going to a head voice? Is it staying too heavy? What is going on?
Yep.
And paying really close attention to that.
Well, even to the point like the straw. You know, I do those sirens. Pretty much all my students do those sirens. But then when it comes to singing through the straw, not all of them can do it. A lot of them just push. So if you can't do it lightly, I'm not going to make you do it, because that won't warm up your voice. It'll wear it out.
Yeah.
So we end up doing something more like some of my students do lip trills because they're way too harsh on their voice to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of them I just have sing lightly, or we'll do head voice, and then we'll slowly build from there. And the concept is the same.
Yeah.
Get a good stretch and build from light in intensity to stronger in intensity. Same with the range.
Yeah.
And get your voice warmed up for what you're trying to do. And I always have them warm up a little bit above where I know they're going to be singing.
Yeah. That's fair.
That's helpful too. If you can sing a note above the songs that you're going to be singing, then those songs won't be an issue.
Right. Will not be difficult.
So because we're pretty much out of time here, I want to address one big thing that actually has some simple solutions. What do you do when you're sick? What do you do when you're getting over being sick? Those are two different questions. What do you do when you're sick? Let's start there.
I recently tried Mucinex for the first time when I was sick. When I noticed I was like getting a chest cold, and I don't have enough experiences with it to like crown it a super amazing success. But I will say, with this most recent sickness that I had, Mucinex, it kept me singing. I wasn't as good as I wanted to be, but it kept me singing.
That's what I do with nasal rinses.
Yeah.
It's very similar. Like, it just get it out.
Yep, absolutely. So that was the main thing. And it doesn't dry. It can dry you up, but it thins the mucus rather than drying it all up. So making sure you're drinking a lot of water, of course, with it. But that was something I noticed. And then like I had my vitamin C and Zicam or zinc supplements are also super helpful, just because they help support the immune system. So yeah, that's what I do.
Yep. And then also, like, in conjunction with anything that feels right for the sickness you have, or what you actually need to do for yourself, or what you're sick with, but keeping the voice somewhat active. Like, you're not full singing, but just like, whether it's light lip trills or sirens, like, especially if it's a sickness that's affecting your throat, making sure that you get a little bit of movement in there, because if there's any issues or like damage, then it might atrophy, and you want to avoid anything like that. So having a little bit of movement and a little bit of use is good, but keeping it very light, depending if it's like a sore throat, salt water, gargle it, helping flush all that out. And then obviously lots of sleep and eating right. That will your body will thank you a lot for that.
Yeah, saltwater nasal rinses are amazing. And sometimes I put a drop of eucalyptus into my steam inhaler, which thins out the mucus.
Yeah.
So there's that as well.
Yeah.
I would say I attack things. I get my immune system a massive boost when I'm feeling sick, because got to teach. I can't be sick for more than a day or I'm screwed.
Yep.
So I'm taking like Peipacoa because it's really good for the throat. That's a throat syrup. That's a Chinese throat syrup.
Good.
I have to try that.
Using Cold Snap or Yin Chao or Zongganling, or I like herbal supplements when I'm sick to boost my immune system and to clear up anything that's there as well. So that's my go-to. But what about if you have to sing still? And I mean, there's a lot to be said for keeping your voice moving for when you're sick, so it doesn't atrophy. That's actually excellent. I always recommend humming and buzzing the lips, or like singing very lightly through a straw, just to keep your voice in shape, whether or not you're sick. Like, even if you just don't have time to practice, at least do that much.
Yeah.
But as far as having to sing, I've sang a lead in a musical with bronchitis before. It was amazing, but I had absolutely no voice afterwards.
I would say, as far as technique goes, over twanging will help.
It'll wear you out faster too.
It will. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, it will. But like, if you have to sing, over twang, and like lower keys. Like, don't be afraid to lower the key of a song if you need to.
Exactly.
You know, like lower the damn thing. It's okay. No one's gonna get mad at you.
Nobody even notices.
No one
man.
notices.
No
Yeah.
one does.
They're not gonna get mad. They're not gonna think you can't sing because, you know, guess what? You already did it on the record, you know, or on record.
Change the vocal line. Even.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, take
go
take
low
break.
instead of high.
I'm convinced that whenever like singers have the audience sing a line, it's just because they don't want to do it. I can't speak for anybody. I'm sure there are other reasons for it, but like you know, have the audience join in. Oh, and like be honest with them. Like I've heard singers actually like go on stage and just be like, "Hey y'all, I'm a little bit under the weather today. If you can help me out the most you can, that would be wonderful."
Yes. Yeah. Communication.
Yeah, like, and no one's gonna be mad at you. It's okay.
So let's address this because I know you've got to go, Matt. So the last thing I would say is if you've had long COVID, if you've had a really bad flu, if you had like I lost my voice completely and it took me months to get it back to the original way. Well, since what is that? Almost 6 months now, I can finally sing the high E again without any problems. But so. There is something to be said for recovery from illness. If you don't have to perform, there's vocal rest or at least very, very light phonations just to keep it in shape, like you mentioned, Drew. There's the idea of taking what we said with the warm-up, do it light, build up, keep building from intensity and in range. Do the same thing when you're recovering from illness, just over the course of days or weeks.
Yeah.
Build up slowly. Test it. That doesn't mean just go for the high notes. It means stretch a little bit further and see if you can do it. See if you can move back towards where you used to be while you're in recovery. And like I said, it took me 6 months. If it's bad enough, that can happen. But I slowly built back up. I didn't force it. When I tried to just force it, it would just distort or go,
Yeah.
which is really embarrassing.
I get it.
So, do you guys have anything to say about that in recovery?
No, I think you got whatever I would have said for sure.
So we covered vocal health. That's really what I wanted to do with you guys today. Because and most of it's a mindset from everything we've said. Most of it's coming back to the mindset of dude, be gentle with your voice and build it to where you want it to be.
Yeah.
However long that takes. Sometimes my warm-ups take 20, 30 minutes because I'm dry. You know? Most of the time it's 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes I go to warm up and my voice works. Like, I don't need to warm up.
Depends on the day. Depends on the person.
Sweet.
Heck yeah.
Okay. Everybody stay healthy.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Now remember, if you want a place to discuss this topic further and other topics too, a place where you can improve both your voice and your music career with courses and other cool resources, unlockable resources even, and a community of other rock and metal singers on the same path. We'll support you, encourage you along the way, just a cool community to be with. Then join us at school.com/rock singing success. Now, over my last 30 years as a professional performing musician, music career coach, and rock singing coach, I've helped hundreds of in-person students and thousands of students in my courses. So I created the Rock Singing Success community to offer you even more help on your journey. Again, that's school.com/rock singing success. That's SKOOL.com/rock singing success. Join us there. Let's continue this discussion. See you there.